going on, everybody? Since it's fall, and I'm sure a lot of people are on Thanksgiving break or fall break, let's talk about Fall Break, aka The Mutilator. I got the era release here with all kinds of good content in here, special, you know, features and whatnot. There's a lot of good stuff on here. So if you're a fan of this movie, definitely pick up The Mutilator. It's only $20 right now. It's $19.99, and you get the DVD and the Blu-ray, so that's a good deal. Now, I saw this for the first time about 10 months ago and was not that high on it. I had some issues with it. I was hoping those things would change on the second viewing, but I kind of stick by what I thought before, but it didn't bug me as much. I'm not as disappointed with this movie because this movie succeeds where it should, but in some other areas I wish they would have done a better job. But the story for the Mutilator, aka Fall Break, is we got these three couples in college. They're on fall break, and one of their friends has a condo that his dad tells him he wants to go clean it. He wants him to go close it up, and he invites his friends to go to this condo on the beach. They go hang out, clean up the condo, and do drugs, have sex, all that stuff. And meanwhile, they're getting picked off one by one by the main kid's crazy dad, who's been crazy ever since his son accidentally killed his wife. Which brings me to my first positive, the open. I just love how ridiculous it is. This guy should have kept his guns locked up and then it wouldn't have happened. But I just love how hilarious this is. He's cleaning guns for his dad, happy birthday dad, and then accidentally shoots his own mom in the process, who's like making a birthday cake. It's so silly, and the reaction from the dad when he finds the body is even more hilarious than what he does then. And even the ending, I like the bookends of this film are the best parts. I love the opening scene. I love how this movie ends. The car chase, if you can call it that, the car scene at the end, it gets real bloody, very chaotic, and gory as hell. So I love the way this movie ends and how all that unfolds. And the gore and the kills are the biggest thing that anybody can take away from this movie. This is here just to show you gore. This movie exists only to show you creative and bloody kills. The effects were done by Mark Shostrom, who I think did work on like the Phantasm films, like Part 2. He did work on all kinds of movies. I can't list them all, but this is a good special effects artist. He was like the Safini and the K&B at the time. These effects are amazing when you do get to see them. A lot of these kills are on screen. They're all inventive. I like that there's a wide variety of weapons being used. It's not just one again and again and again. You got a machete. The tagline of the movie even says, by sword, by pick, by axe, by bye-bye. Great tagline, great poster. So I just love all these different weapons being used, like a gaff. It's a very mean-spirited kill, what's being done with that weapon. I love that the killer in this movie puts his victims on spikes after he kills them. Kind of like, how you got Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, they always hide bodies. They do special things with them. And this guy, he takes the bodies and he puts them on a wall of spikes, which I like that. And since this is a slasher, you gotta check that nudity box, and this one does check it. I wasn't a fan of any of the women, though, in this movie. That would be a little bit of a nitpick. I didn't find any of these women attractive. They were cute, but they weren't hot. I think it's the outfits they were given, their hair. I wasn't crazy about their looks, but one of them gets naked, so if you're looking for nudity, you're going to get that. And I love the dream sequences in the movie. This is the only movie where a dream sequence is good. In any other movie, it would piss me off, but the dream sequences you get in here are from the killer, and they're hysterical.
At least make sure they're all right. And, I've got something to show you when you get back.
Whoa, Lord. Goodness gracious. Yeah.
I love all the 80s cheesiness with the music and the editing, some of the dialogue. It's all cheesy, it's all fun, and it definitely ages the film, but in a fun way. It gives the movie some charm. And I think the final girl in this movie, Pam, is the smartest character and the strongest one. She right away knows something's up. She's constantly trying to get them to call the cops. So I like the way she was written. Not so much everybody else, but she was smart, and I like how she fights back at the end. Now, going into my negatives is not really the film's fault, but this movie does look very low budget. It's one setting. I'm not crazy about this setting. The atmosphere is lacking here. All the money went to the kills, probably. I would expect. And of course, the acting is very piss poor, basically from everybody. Everybody's bad. And the pacing, I had a huge problem with in the middle. I love the open, love the ending, but everything in the middle, there's just a lot of filler. A lot of them just drinking and talking, not saying anything interesting. The characters weren't fun to me. They got the typical prankster, but he wasn't really all that funny to me. So I just wasn't digging the characters, and I didn't care for almost any of the dialogue. I think what this movie should have done was explore Ed's character more. Like, he's the one that really sets this shit off. Like, he's the one that accidentally killed his mom as a kid, and they don't really play around with that. He's just completely normal. He's hanging out with friends. Like, after killing your mom, I think that would have had a bigger impact on your life. Maybe you would be more socially awkward or more distant or crazy yourself. Like, they don't do anything to explore his character, his psyche. He's just normal, and he's hanging out with these friends. He never, talks about what happened really and how it had an effect on him. He's just normal. I feel like they should have explored that, explore his character more, make me sympathize with him, because they don't do anything to make you sympathize with him. He's the worst character in this movie. He's the one that deserves to die the most. Like, it was just him who's supposed to go to the condo, but he brings his friends there, and now he's getting them all killed, just like he got his mom killed. So you just want him dead, and spoiler, he does not die. Big problem. I think he should have died. Me personally, he should have died. He should have had a moment with his dad towards the end when he finds out and it's like a reveal for him, like, oh my god, it was my dad. He has that reveal after he's dead. Like, he should have had that reveal when they were struggling, and I don't know how he didn't realize that was his dad. Like, you would know your dad when you see him, but whatever. Like, he should have had a moment before that where he realized, oh, it's my dad, and they should have had like a talk or a bigger fight. Like, their fight together is over quicker than you can say corn on the cob. It is just so quick and pathetic. So I wish there was a bigger grand finale between them as opposed to the final girl and the killer. I just wish there was more there between Ed and his dad. But that's really about it. I mean, just the biggest problem was the pacing for me. I wish these characters were better written, to help the flow of the movie. I was just getting really bored in between the death scenes. So, final thoughts. If you're a gore hound, this is definitely for you. It's got some great mean-spirited, vicious kills, all on screen, all practical, and it's got some nudity. It's got a crazy killer who is like Michael Myers. He doesn't speak. For some reason, he's mute now. And it's got that 80s fun charm to it, that cheesiness. So that stuff is appealing to you. I think you'll enjoy this, but just know that it's not the best pace, so brace yourself. So when it comes to the Mutilator, if you're a slasher fan, definitely go out and buy it. But if you're just a casual slasher fan or you're just a casual horror fan, I would only recommend maybe streaming this for free. It's not worth all your money. This is for hardcore slasher fans, all right? It's got all the tropey characters and all the horror tropes. It's like 1983, right in the middle of that slasher craze. I don't think it came out, though, until 84. But yeah, let's get into the spoiler discussion. So, like I said before, my positives, we get this cool, fun little accident. But was it? I mean, the way they shoot it, I mean, this kid gets the gun out of the gun rack, the gun case or whatever, unlocked. Should have locked it, Dad. He's cleaning it, but then he aims it at the wall and pulls the trigger. So, did he know that there was a bullet in there? Was it on purpose? Was it an accident? That's the biggest mystery in the movie for me. So the dad comes home, sees the mom, bitch slaps the son, and then just drags the mom's body into the gun room and starts putting like alcohol down her throat. Like, this might bring you back to life. It worked in Creepshow with Nathan, so maybe it'll work with you. If I just put some alcohol and whiskey down your throat, it'll come back. Like, this makes me question, like, how sane was this guy before the accident? Was he already crazy? I mean, he's looking like it. So maybe he was already crazy, and this was just the final straw that broke the camel's back. I do have to question why he took so long to kill his son. I mean, he's having all these funny dream sequences where he's murdering his son in inventive ways. He's shooting him, he's strangling him, he's like slitting his throat. It's like, why don't you just kill your son? Why did it take him like 10 years to do it? Just a little question I have. But as the audience, you just gotta fill in that blank for yourself. So then we're introduced to the main cast of characters. We got these 3 couples. They're at a bar, and he gets a phone call. He has to go to the condo, and he's like, "Oh man, my stupid dad, like, he wants me to go clean up the condo and close it up so he can sell it to someone. Like, why should I have to do it?" It's like, why? Because you killed his fucking wife. You should be thankful that he hasn't killed you yet. Like, do it, you ungrateful bastard. So it's like things like that. I hate his character. It's like, oh, why should I do it? It's like, because you're an evil little shit who killed your mom. All right? It's like, he shows no sympathy ever in this movie for what he did. There's no redeeming qualities here for this asshole. And then there's a weird little line in here about, my dad treats me like I'm the redheaded stepchild or something. And Ralph, his, comic relief friend, gets all upset, like, well, hey, and he points at his hair. His hair's not even red, not even remotely red. So I was confused by that. He's like, oh, I'm a redhead. It's like, did they write a redhead into the script, but then when they casted somebody, they casted someone with no red hair? It was like, he's not a redhead. So yeah, and then we get the typical, I have a bad feeling about this line. How many times have you heard that line in the movie? It's an overused line. Like, I've got a bad feeling. And then we get the cheesiest song ever that I think was written for the movie. Welcome to fall break. We're gonna have a good time. It's very cheesy. And then it like stops the music, and they go into like a liquor store. This guy thinks he's like swindling the guy, like, oh, give me a 10% discount on this 6-pack and I'll buy another 6-pack that I didn't want. But it's like he thinks he's like getting one up on this guy, like he's swindling him, like, he's such a fucking moron. And then once they get back in the car, the music starts up again. Title sequence, fall break. So yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like it says fall break, but the movie on the cover says the Mutilator, so it's kind of like Blood Rage, which I just reviewed recently, where in the movie itself it says slasher, but on the cover it says Blood Rage. And so they get there, the doors open, they don't mind, there's clutter everywhere, empty bottles, and they don't seem to mind. Only the final girl is like, maybe we should call the cops. We should do something. She's the only one thinking. And there's a tiki mask called Chalk or something that I read was going to be used in a sequel. They were planning on making a sequel, and they were going to explore that mask. So I wonder what that would have been like. It would have been kind of cool if the killer put that on. Maybe that could have been his mask, but he's maskless in this one, which is fine. He doesn't need to have a mask, but it would have been kind of cool if he came in, like, maybe in the second half of the movie, he puts it on, so he has a different look. Why does the dad have a picture frame of some poor bastard he ran over with his ski boat? And they just think that's normal. They don't question it. Like, your dad's kind of crazy. It's like, yeah, who the hell does that? It's just so odd. And then, Linda and her boyfriend, who sounds like he could do a very accurate Elvis Presley impersonation, decide to go walk the beach. And as soon as they leave, the next scene, the final girl is like, man, they've been gone a while. It's like they just fucking left. And then they're playing Monopoly. They should have been playing Strip Monopoly. And then Mike and Linda, they go to this pool. It's a public pool. It's a very weird public pool because typically you would see like glass walls or something, or it's like inside a building. But this thing is like outside with like a plastic tarp over the whole thing. You got all kinds of like trees, like small trees and plants, like, pots all around the pool. Like, I've never seen a public pool like this in my life, so I was just confused by the sight of it. Maybe it's a common thing in North Carolina. I don't know. I was just confused by the aesthetic of what this public pool was like. I don't understand how this happens. So they're swimming. She's naked, which is nice. And they decide to play tag in the pool. And this guy goes underwater long enough for the killer to somehow get into the pool without making a splash or a noise. And he drowns her and then drags her out of the pool, gets her clothes, gets his clothes, and just walks off with her body. And then finally, he gets back up to the surface. Like, he was down for that long. That is just a coincidence and a half. Like, seriously, that is just bullshit. I heard that kill got changed. She was supposed to get shot with like a harpoon while she was like floating on her back, and then she would get like dragged under with the harpoon gun. which would have been better, but they couldn't get the effect done right. And then this Elvis guy who thinks that chlorine can prevent herpes gets killed with the motor of the boat. He gets it right to the gut, and that was another effect that they couldn't get done right. You were supposed to actually like see it hit his stomach, but the plastic or whatever they were using for the effect, it couldn't get cut properly, so they had to cut that out, which is a shame. But you get the aftermath with his intestines hanging out of his open stomach, which is pretty cool. And I like how he dies sitting up. Who dies sitting up? So then we're introduced to the cop. There's a cop patrolling the beach at night, somehow sneaking up on them with all this loud equipment and keys on him, jangling around. And he goes to his car, which doesn't even look like a cop car. I didn't see any lights on it. And he's like, "This is a 1038. I'm investigating a 1038." And I looked up the code, and it said a 1038 is when you stop a suspicious car. I didn't see him look at any car. There was no car. So, wrong code. Or maybe it's different by state. I don't know. Aren't police codes universal, at least in America? I don't know. I just looked into it because I was curious. And it said it was suspicious vehicles. And there was no suspicious vehicle there. So, wrong police code, buddy. You're a terrible cop. And then he gets the machete stabbed through his cheek and then gets his head chopped off with the battle axe. And every time this guy uses the battle axe, there's never blood on it, which is just a silly continuity error. And I love how all these grown-ups who are in college, they're playing hide and seek. Like, really? They call it something else, but it's basically hide and seek. And to further illustrate how bad the cinematography is, how, the day for night shooting, all that stuff, the lighting in the movie is, like, we're supposed to think that this room is so dark that they have to like hug the wall with their hand to like know where they're going. But everything is so well lit, you can see ants on the ground. Like, you could see everything. It's just so bad. They're like, "Oh yeah, I can't see anything." It's like, dude, your friend's right there, just sitting on the table. Like, what a great hiding spot. And then the killer walks in, and again, it's so bright that they would recognize, like, who the hell is this bastard? Like, we don't know this guy. But it's so dark, I guess, that they can't see that it's not their friend. Another thing that's kind of silly is when they hard cut to the final girl laughing like she's cracking up at nothing that's funny. Like, I forget what Ralph said, but it wasn't funny. And she's like cracking up, and then he gets like offended, and then she like sucker punches him right in the gut, and then she like throws him on his ass. It was just out of nowhere. She turned into Tommy Jarvis in A New Beginning. Like, she's kicking ass. And she doesn't really kick ass that much in the end. I thought that was going to be like a setup. Like, oh man, she's going to throw this evil dad on his ass. She's going to kick him to the ground. But no, she fights back, but not like that. I found it kind of funny that they're all littering at the condo that they're there to clean up. When they're playing hide and seek, they throw beer cans behind them onto the beach. It's like, you're there to clean up, and all you're doing is playing Monopoly, drinking, smoking, what's it called? Skinny dipping, not strip dipping. I don't know what I was going to say there. Skinny dipping. They're just doing all this other shit. They only got 4 days there. They're not doing anything. So just kill these people because they're litterers and they're not funny. Let's just get rid of these bastards as quickly as we can. I love that Ralph, he's like whispering, and then he's like, "Why the hell am I whispering?" I was like, "Yeah, that's a good question. Why are you whispering?" And then he gets the pitchfork right to the throat. It looks fake. Even the pitchfork is like flimsy towards the end of that segment. But still a cool kill. He gets pitchforked right in the throat, kind of like that Fox girl in Friday the 13th Part 3, except we get to see this one. And another line that just made me chuckle, because I understand why she used this wording. When she doesn't hear anybody in the house and she thinks they're all gone, she tries to wake up her boyfriend and she's like, "All the kids are missing." All the kids? You mean your friends? Why are you calling them all kids? It's like, don't call them kids. That offends Annie. You make it sound like they're goats. Annie would not appreciate you using that word. It was just funny. It's like, all the kids are missing. It's like, the kids? You mean your friends? That doesn't make sense. So then Sue gets the hook up her vagina. And the funniest part about this, I mean, it's not supposed to be funny, but it's funny because she's not putting up a fight at all like a normal human being would. Like, he's like putting her hand, he's got his hand on her throat. So it's like, oh, that's why she's not screaming. But the way his hand is on her throat, he's like grabbing the side. okay, I can still scream if you're grabbing me like this. So, but B, she's like in no pain. Like once his hand is off her neck and off her mouth, and he's got the hook up her vagina and it's going out her belly button. It, she's not screaming. She's in no pain. Like she's in so much shock she can't feel anything. Like I don't understand that. That was just bad. Bad direction. You should have told that actress, hey, scream, or ADR to scream, because we don't see her face while it's happening. So you could have thrown some screams in there, something to make it seem more realistic, like something was actually happening to that woman. So that was just very silly, but it's a very mean kill and very creative. So, and they didn't even hear the ruckus that was going on in there, because you described the ruckus. Like he like puts all he's like shoving all this shit off the table before he throws it on there, and they literally right before that just split off. They're like, all right, we'll go this way, you go that way, and then not even 5 seconds later, she's getting grabbed by the throat. He's throwing shit around. This place isn't that big. Come on. Like, you didn't hear all that crap. You gotta suspend disbelief. It's like they didn't hear that ruckus. And then I love when they find her body, we find out she's been beheaded as well. And their first reaction is to open the closet door, like they're gonna go run in there. It's like, oh my gosh, a body, quick, into the closet. And they find all the dead bodies in there. It's like, why would you open up the closet door? And then he, like a dumb dick, locks his girlfriend in the closet. Like he even puts like a piece of wood underneath the door, like to hold her in, which it doesn't really do anything. She still bursts out. It's like, why are you locking her in there? When the killer goes walking in there and he gets rid of your ass, he's gonna see that and be like, somebody's locked in there. And now she's fucked. You're not thinking clearly, obviously. And this is the moment where you could have had a bigger, climactic fight between the son and the dad, or have some kind of monologue, some speech, have him explain why he's doing it, or say something. But nope, he quickly gets knocked on his ass. The final girl bursts through the door, starts kicking ass and taking names. She stabs him in like the chest or the stomach or something. And then they get in the car. Is he dead? It's like, if you didn't think he was dead, why didn't you stab him some more, you moron? And they kind of reveal that he's alive sooner than they should have. Like, you can see him in the background walking. So I guess it's kind of like a Michael Myers moment in Halloween. But then she turns the headlights on, and that's when they realize he's missing. Like, that should have been when the audience was in on it, too. Like, oh, shit. Like, he's not there. That's when the reveal should have happened with the headlights, not before that. So I feel like that was a mistake. And, of course, the car won't start, but at least they set this up earlier in the film when they're getting beer. So at least that was, like, set up. It wasn't, like, convenient in that moment. It's been established. This car is a piece of shit. And so then we find out he's alive. He gets on top of the sunroof instead of just like stabbing her through the side window. Why did he choose to go all the way around the car and get on top? I have to question these dumb decisions by the killer, just like when I questioned Jason in part 2 when he stabs the pitchfork. It's like, you could have stabbed Pam in her head. Jenny, this is Pam. Jenny in part 2, you could have stabbed her with the pitchfork when she was in her buggy, but no, you stabbed the passenger side so you can unlock the car door. It's like, what are you doing, Jason? But in this movie, I don't understand why he decided to go on top of the car. He's like the hitchhiker in Creepshow 2. And so we were supposed to get apparently this big climactic car chase, like onto the bridge, the drawbridge, where it chopped them in half, but they didn't have the budget, they didn't have the resources, they couldn't do it. So they simply like back up and smash him up against the wall. She pulls forward, he's chopped in half, and he also gets like a cigarette lighter on his hand, and that just made me cringe. Like, I've actually touched a cigarette lighter. When I was a kid, it was an accident. I didn't know it was hot. And let me tell you something, that is some of the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. So when I saw that cigarette lighter hit his hand and like smeared like all the melted skin across the hand, like, oh, that was the worst, gore for me in the movie, like in a good way. That was the one that really got me. So I can take the gaff up the vagina, but the cigarette lighter, that one got me because it's personal. But yeah, he's chopped in half. He's just sitting down there. You think he's dead. Cop walks up, takes the cop's leg off. He's laughing maniacally as he's bleeding out. And then they're at the hospital. And this is when the movie should have been done. It should have been done with the cop getting his leg chopped off. If it would have ended there, it would have ended on a crazy note, like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre or, Tenebrae. Just end on a crazy note. Just him laughing with a severed leg. That's when the movie should have ended, but they decided to add this 1 minute scene where they're at the hospital And they're like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah. And then boom, credits. Like, we didn't need that. If you're not going to set up a final scare, again, you don't need to continue the story. It's like, we didn't need to know that they made it to the hospital. It's like, we can assume in our heads that they made it out. It's just an unnecessary final scene. I feel like they made a bad decision there too. And then we get this very 80s style credits where we see like all the footage from before of all the characters with their actors' names on the footage. It's very 80s. It's got that cheesy ass Fall Break song playing over it. And that's the end of the movie. So the Hockey Mask Award for best character in this movie is Ralph the Jokester. He had the only funny lines in the movie. And the Hanky Award for worst character in this movie is Ed, the main son, because he's a piece of shit. He killed his mom. He basically got his friends killed by dragging them there. And he's ungrateful. And to me, I think he should have died at the end of the movie. And the Clapper Award for the best scene in this film is that struggle in the car at the end with the dad attacking them and then getting sliced in half with the car and then killing the cop. All that stuff in the final act, the final struggle, the final chase. That was the best part for me. And the Funny Bone Award for funniest moment in the movie, besides the opening, is the dad's crazy dream sequences where he's envisioning murdering his son in different ways. And the Mr. Hat Award for best kill in the movie will go to Sue, who gets the hook up her you-know-what, and then gets beheaded. And the Mr. Twig Award for lamest kill in the movie will go to Linda, the pool girl, who gets drowned. It's a shame we couldn't get to see the alternate death. And those are my thoughts on The Mutilator. Put all your thoughts of this crazy movie in the comments below. Your favorite kill, everything. Let's talk about it. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.